You are listening to episode 234 of the Peaceful Mind Podcast. Welcome to the Peaceful Mind Podcast, a place for creating the peace of mind you need to be the best mom you are created by God to be. If you want to bring more balance, more joy, and more peace to your motherhood, this is the place for you. I'm your host, certified life coach and Catholic mom, Danielle Tienel. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take the first part to ask or remind you if you are a listener who has enjoyed what you learn here on the podcast and are just wanting a little bit more. I want to urge you for the very next best step besides listening and consuming to this content is to dive into my method, my process that I help all of my clients, all my moms, to be able to become more calm about their life, more in control, like taking charge instead of letting life just kind of take you down the current, and to build up a confidence that you know how to be able to handle whatever comes your way. And that is my book, The Cyclone Mom Method. So I just wanted to put out this reminder at the beginning of the episode that if you haven't already accessed a copy, downloaded a copy, read a copy, listened to a copy, then I want to urge you to do that right now. The link to the digital copy plus the audio version and a bonus kind of focused on your goals workbook, it's only $4.99. And I will put the link to that in the show notes, but I urge you to press pause on this podcast and just do it now. I've had people who have told me that they just, kind of binge listened as they were going through their day. You can access a hard copy if you want from one of the online book retailers, but really the digital version, you can be able to read through. So grab your copy of the Cyclone Mom Method, do yourself and your family a favor and get started. This is the best next step from listening to this podcast. It's going to help you come up with what are some actions to take, which is the real difference maker when we are applying and moving towards having more peace of mind in our motherhoods. Okay. And another thing before, we're going to be talking today about how we handle life transitions, and we want to handle them more with grace. Like, transitions are hard. And the one that sort of sparked this podcast to you all today, and I haven't really talked about it much at all this year on the podcast, for me personally, is the transition that I've had to make from going to a person who has both of my parents in my life physically, to losing my father this year back in January. And so now I'm a person navigating the world who doesn't physically have her dad with her. And for me, on another level, my parents live across the street from my mom still does, but both my parents lived across the street from me. And so they are a huge part of my everyday world. And so just in general, the tough stuff that comes up in life, I want to empower you all to be able to handle these with more grace. For me, the navigating life without my parent, but there are other transitions that some of you are facing right now or will face. And so that's what I wanted to talk about on today's podcast. So whether you are in a position right now where you're adding a new child to your family, this is definitely a big transition. Whether I have some clients who are moving this fall or already have moved to becoming a homeschool mom, Maybe you've got a spouse or yourself adding a job, or maybe you are transitioning to a stay-at-home mom. Maybe you are wanting to work yourself out of a job, or you have a spouse that has a major job change, one that was either expected or unexpected. With any of these and a myriad of other changes that we face in our mom lives, I want to offer you a framework that will help you handle these transitions more effectively, and more importantly, gracefully, right? And when we think about graceful, we're thinking about it being where we bring in our faith aspect to it, where we call on, grace from heaven, when we handle it more calmly, which we have less worry, less stress about it, and really where we can step into actually feeling our feelings about this transition, not pretending to act a different, pretending that we feel better about it than maybe we do. So let's begin here by first understanding that not all strategies are helpful to us in times of change. For instance, I just kind of made a little mention to it, resisting change or ignoring the emotional impact that it has on you and your family, that actually is not a really good strategy. It adds stress rather than alleviating it. So I want to have you foster this kind of resilience, this flexibility, which when I say that word, my dad totally comes into mind. That is one of, I think, his greatest gifts he bestowed on me, was showing this flexible attitude with life, this more like go with the flow and like, okay, leaning into, all right, this is happening. So what are we going to do? What are we going to figure out? Because, we're not resisting it. But so I also view this as being more adaptable. So moms, I want to invite you that these life transitions are going to come in. So can you be someone who is open to fostering a resilience, a flexibility, an adaptability, so that you can lean into what's actually happening to you instead of resisting it? And then how can you move forward and go through it and do that more gracefully? So here are the steps that I recommend that you can apply to any transition to your life. And that's whether it's a big transition or a little transition. It doesn't matter. So here's number one. Number one is to acknowledge and accept that the change is happening. What I find most of the roadblocks, the challenges that my clients face, is when we think this shouldn't be happening. We didn't want it. We didn't expect it. So the first step is always to lean in and acknowledge and say, this is what I've been given. This is what is happening, or this is what I'm choosing. Like I'm choosing to transition to this now, this kind of ownership. What I know that happens too often is we can't believe something is happening, or we're telling ourselves this is going to be so hard, and therefore it feels heavy and pressure to make this change. We are looking and thinking about what we lost. And sometimes we're mad. We're mad that this change is happening. Sometimes we feel really reactive because we feel out of control. So we might handle it where we are blaming. But what I want you to step into, and what I want to invite you, is a very necessary step whenever you're making any life transition, is to acknowledge that it's happening, just the facts of what is happening. And a lot of times these transitions, you want to also come back to, I'm choosing it. Because maybe if you're making a move, or if you are deciding to have another baby, or if you are going to become a stay-at-home mom and you're working outside the house right now, A lot of times we forget that no, we're choosing this. And when we transition from one thing to the other, there are times too when we're not choosing it. Like when I think about, I didn't choose my dad to die at that point, but it was easier to move through the grieving process when I was like, no, he's gone now. And acknowledging that it's happening, that there will be life without him physically here, and you lean into it. Okay, the next step to handle any kind of transition in your life more gracefully is to seek understanding and gather some information. This is kind of like you're trying to seek the understanding through gathering information. So just like a navigator, I'm actually watching a Viking show right now. That's why this example is coming to my mind. Like seeks the stars to be able to find out where to go. We want to seek information. Like if your spouse is starting a new career, what does that change mean? What does it mean for your schedule? What does it mean for your family dynamics? What does it mean for your financial landscape, right? And so you want to then take what's happening from the first step and then gather information about what it means and how you are taking a guess that it's going to affect you, so that you will have this kind of plan, this full picture plan, so that you can then plan better, right? Then you can lean into what are some tasks that will need to take place for us to be able to gracefully handle this change. This basically tells us to get our mind into the next steps, right? We need action to get results. And I want you to be taking positive action, which means we've got to feel good about the transition in order to take that positive action. But in order to feel good, we have to make sure that our mind isn't going to the thoughts of, how is this hard? How is this not good? How is this going to be like a huge change? And how is this going to be a struggle bus? Instead, we go to those understanding, gathering information, like these thoughts like, how is this going to affect us? And what can we do to put in things into place to navigate it smoother? How can we figure this out? How is this going to be awesome for us? How is this change like exciting or a new adventure? And, how does this help us as a family? What can we do to support ourselves financially during this time or emotionally during this time? So notice how we're gathering information. We're making our brainstorming list so that we can then choose the plan forward that's going to best support us. Okay, so far in this framework of handling our life transitions with more grace, step one, we want to acknowledge and accept the change instead of resist it. Number two, we want to seek a deeper understanding and gather information on things that will be our next steps of action. And third, you want to communicate openly. I know that when I come back to the example of my dad, that there is a sadness that comes along that makes you want to kind of go introverted, go alone. And yes, there are times for that. So we can think and process emotions, but I want to say that to handle it more gracefully, that if we openly communicate, right? Our family ties, our friends, maybe coworkers, whatever, if we discuss these changes and you do this with your family and in a way that expresses your thoughts and feelings about it, and it encourages others to do the same, then this will prevent misunderstandings and it builds your support system within your own home or own community, because nobody is having to guess what it is that you're thinking and feeling. So when we're helping our kids navigate a transition, this is what we want to hone in onto this step for sure. We want to help them like express their feelings. And it might be different from day to day. It might be like you're more like feeling fine about the transition one day, but then, it might like the waves, it might come in and you might be overwhelmed by it or really, stressed about it. So this is where not going inward, but going outward with our thoughts and feelings can be super helpful. Do you have somebody to talk to? And that leads me into step 4, which is setting up your support system. Like it is tough to handle these transitions alone. So to do it more gracefully, what you need like to build like the scaffolding around yourself. It's like construction and that support system. So while you are remodeling your life per se in a life transition, what scaffolding do you have there to support you? Is it a friend's kind of network? Is it family, extended family? Is it church members? Is it a professional like a life coach? Make sure you have people who are there who can offer you practical help, emotional support. And with the example of a coach, it is somebody who is helping you stay on track. That person knows your goals, and so it'll help you keep on the right kind of mental and emotional wellness track that will help you move forward to those goals. So we all need support systems during these times of transition. And then the last framework that I want to offer you is to just finally be willing to adapt. This comes back to that flexibility part. Change is hard. Your brain does not want change. Your lower brain fights against it. It wants things to stay normal, what it's used to, status quo. And so that is why we can be shaken and thrown off track when a new life transition comes our way. So we want to be open and willing to adapt. And it's about being flexible. It's like a tree bending in the wind. That's what you want to be. You want to think about those palm trees you see on TV when a hurricane comes, right? You want to be the one that can be bending over so that you are standing up straight when the calm of the storm comes later. So what this means is that as you implement those changes, right? So as you are working through step 2, where you're seeking understanding and gathering information and making a plan and taking action on it, you want to keep assessing what is working for you and what's not working for you so that we can then adjust your plans as needed so that you can best help yourself and your family thrive during this transition. The reevaluation process about what works and what doesn't work is not just an amazing step in a framework to help you navigate life transitions. Really going after any kind of new goal or going through a new experience. What people don't want to do is take the time to stop and reevaluate what's working, what's not working. But this is essential if you want to handle these transitions with more grace. That reevaluating is so essential. So there you have it. You have this life transition that's happening in your life, whether it's big or small. This is what you want to do. You want to lean in to that it's happening. You want to accept this change. And you want to get to this place of acceptance as soon as possible. And then you want to gather information about what this change means to you and the different parts of your life so that you can create a plan. And then you want to decide to be somebody who doesn't go inward, but you want to communicate openly what's going on with you on the inside. And you want to set up a support system that is able to support you with those mental and emotional things that are going on for you so that you can get back to that more useful serving place mentally and emotionally and move forward. And then lastly, you want to be willing to adapt, be open to flexible, to figuring things out, to looking forward, to seeing what gifts and miracles are there for you in this transition. And you want to reassess what's working and what's not working so that you don't get stuck. Okay. So when we think about some examples with this framework, like I mentioned, like let's say you're adding another child to your family. We want to acknowledge that this is happening, that there's going to be an increased demand on your time and energy. You're going to want to gather information on what this means as far as managing your life with more children. Like, does that mean that there is, does your partner need to change what they're doing in their schedule? Do we need to hire some more support caregivers, right? What is our daily routine? How will that change up for our family dynamics? Let's say you're someone who is transitioning from your kids being at school to then being home and you're going to be a homeschool mom, right? We want to first accept the role that I'm choosing to do this, that their education ways are changing. You, of course, want to discuss it with your family and set realistic expectations, again, on your time and energy. You want to seek support from other homeschooling parents. You want to have some support to be able to, tell someone or share with somebody what the hard and the struggle is you're going about this transition, right? And you want to be flexible with your teaching methods and schedules. Definitely, trying some things out and then reevaluating and then maybe making some tweaks into those methods and schedules. We didn't talk about the transition, but what's coming to mind for another example is like when your child is leaving home, like where I was, where some of my children were leaving for college, which has been a couple years ago now already. But I leaned in. We want to lean in and recognize that this is definitely an emotional impact on your life and your family, right? And I remember definitely gathering support from my own coach and for other people who had gone through it. I was very open in lines of communication with both my spouse and my family and my children about how it all felt. And I definitely leaned on friends for emotional support. And really there was definitely some adaptation that took place to my daily life when I had less time and energy going to my children. And I was open, right, to what that might look like for my own personal growth and interests and my own work life with this new adaptation as my kids were leaving home. So again, just a few transitions, but there are so many more. So just take the framework to what kind of transition might be going on in your life. And with that, I want to thank you for tuning in today. If you found it helpful, please share it with somebody who might be going through their own life transition, because you can face them with strength and with grace, especially if you are mindful of these 5 steps. All right, everyone, until next time, keep faith and love at the forefront of your mind and heart. I'm so glad you're here, and I will see you again, same time, same place next week. And until then, may peace be with you always. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Peaceful Mind podcast. If you found value in today's episode, I'd be so grateful if you could subscribe and leave a review. It not only supports the podcast, but ensures you don't miss out on future episodes packed with insights and tools to create peace of mind in your busy mom life. And if you're of the Catholic faith like me, or any Christian mom seeking to feel better in any area of your life and to show up more calm, connected, and confident, I can help. Become an empowered mom who knows how to bring about the changes you desire, no matter the circumstances. Whether you need one-on-one guidance to get there, prefer a group coaching program with like-minded women, or a self-study course, I've got you covered. Explore my private one-on-one packages, join my Busy to Balance group life coaching program, or delve into my signature course, Divine Time. To find out which path is right for you, let's meet and see what's the best fit. Schedule a free call with me at danielleteenel.com or send me a direct message on Facebook or Instagram at Danielle Teenel Coaching. And also, don't forget to get your copy of my book, The Cyclone Mom Method, How to Call on Your God-Given Power to Remain Calm, in control, and confident as a busy mom. Dive into the digital and bonus audio version when you go to book.danielleteenel.com/new-book. You'll find all the details in the show notes too. Until next time, peace be with you always.